33-story hotel and condo project.
I'd probably be
Okay,
like
like
that.
stop, tap.
This is a plan by the community for the community.
This one here. Show me.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's Kent Molgat for Kelowna Now. And we're joined by Darcy Nyros from Nyros and Associates Real Estate. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I've been kind of avoiding this speculation tax issue. It started to be like just too much.
We all have.
Everybody's just so negative about it. It's just bad, and the province doesn't want to let go. So it's like we're getting it. We're getting it anyway.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So tell me, since all this was introduced to us in the early part of the year to now, we don't even have it in place yet. But is it already affecting the real estate sector in your perception?
Well, it did when it came out with a bang. It literally created a shockwave throughout the whole real estate industry. And I'm talking from the island to all the way back east, because everyone's somewhat affected. What happens, I think, the biggest thing is the fact that BC residents were hit quite hard at the start. They've made revisions since then.
Yeah.
But I think the other hard part is that Canadians are being affected, where I think we are supposed to be united, right?
Right.
Strong and free, and we're supposed to help each other out, not try to block and put up borders and restrictions.
You know, and the timing of it, I think, was bad. We already had the issue of the pipeline that was creating a bit of an Alberta versus BC negative feeling. And then along comes this tax, and it just seemed like it was exacerbating that. And, you know, you could argue that this tax really doesn't affect that many buyers, but it probably quite certainly has affected the feeling. And perception is reality in something like real estate.
Oh, absolutely. See, I think what's caused the biggest issue is, let's just say you're from Alberta, or let's say Saskatchewan, and you bought this beautiful property for the family to use for generations. And you bought this beautiful lakefront property in Kelowna, 20 years ago. And you still own it. Well, you're now affected by it. So even though you may have paid $400,000, and let's just say it's now worth $2 million.
It's on the lakefront, yeah, that's almost
Yeah,
conservative.
right, yeah. So now you're paying based on today's dollars, even though you're using it as a family legacy or a place to gather.
Right.
They do try to put in these exemptions where if you rent it out. Well, unfortunately, the rental rules now have changed where there is no fixed term tenancy. So if you want to rent it out 6 or 8 months and then use it, you don't have that opportunity anymore.
Right.
So now these people are caught where they want to use it for family, but they're paying this penalty for owning it. And we've heard people say, well, I bought it for X, it's now worth less. So now I'm paying on something that I bought for more to use it for my family. So if I sell it today, I'm at a loss. Now, you don't see a lot of those because the market has done quite well.
Right.
But we are seeing the market stabilize. Now, that's one of the factors, is the speculation tax. There is that foreign buyers tax, which is also there, but we don't really see that being a big...
Yeah. So the part of the speculation tax that bothers you or affects your real estate business more is the interprovincial part.
Absolutely.
If they kept the foreign one, you know, maybe we could convince you to keep that part in place.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the foreign, and again, we want everyone to experience Canada, BC, everything. But what happens is when the foreign buyers come here, a lot of times, their dollars are a lot stronger than ours, and they are trying to place money here. So they're not looking at it as a true second home or a true investment. They're just parking their money. So yes, it does start to create problems because when the homes start to sit and they start to be unkept, and there's this maintenance issue where most Albertans, Saskatchewan, any Canadian that owns something as a second home, there's reasons for it. They want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lived back east and then you had this opportunity to enjoy some place like this, and you had the capabilities to do it, I think that's great because it also creates jobs. I have a neighbor who owns a home beside me. He's probably, I bet you right now, he's probably there 4 weeks a year. But he comes up, he's not ready to come up full time, he's trying to come up more and more. But every day, every week, I see a guy going out cleaning his pool, maintaining his yard, checking on for insurance purposes. So that's creating jobs, creating another base of an economy here, and he's willing to pay for it.
But hold on now, have you had any clients come forward that are Albertans that are checking out as a result of the tax? Have you seen that yet?
At the start, they were all ready to go south totally.
Inquiring about it,
Yeah.
but really doing it?
Yeah, well, because it hasn't happened yet, right? So and even though they say it's the taxes coming in the fall, we haven't seen the repercussions of it yet.
Yeah.
We all right away think tax negative, right?
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part too is the targeting. So where they decided that location A, B, and C will get this tax, and C and D won't. So can they choose next year to put it on C and D, or do they take it off A and B?
Yeah.
Right. So
But do you remain concerned that you will be seeing that people will literally be saying, to heck with BC, this is a regressive tax, I'll vacation, or I'll get a second home somewhere else?
well, they're going to start looking at the untargeted areas. I mean, you look at Peachland, you look at Lake Country, still beautiful, but no
It does
tax.
seem strangely
Yeah.
arbitrary. That
No Vernon?
West Kelowna
Yeah.
is in it, but Vernon isn't. There's areas of Vernon out the lake that are kind of
Lake country.
collectively more chicy than parts of-
Peachland, Penticton,
It's-
absolutely.
It does seem very strange
Right.
and arbitrary.
So, I mean, for them, it's easy for them to say, well, I want something in the Okanagan. I will look at selling and moving. So what it's going to do is, sure, we might see an influx of certain types of homes. That still doesn't mean that that's going to make it affordable,
Right.
because they're not going to give it away either.
Okay, I think we both agree, though, that we do have an affordability problem for people that are sort of entering adulthood right now and looking around. Buying any kind of real estate is starting to look like the impossible dream. And anything a provincial government tries to do to kind of put some cold water on real estate, I can't imagine it being something that the industry is going to say, oh yeah, bring that on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel for them. They're struggling to try to resolve an issue, and anything they do, of course, they're going to be dumped on by the real estate sector.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So, do you have any suggestions of things you could do that could maybe that the real estate sector would actually say, okay, we can live with that?
Well, I think instead of automatically tax basing the issues, we need to look at inducing or creating incentives, for developers. So developers are looking at a business. So they will build a building and sell the units and move on. Well, the people that purchase them, we used to have restrictions because we had to make sure that we were protected, that someone doesn't walk from buying 10 homes. However, I mean, we want to sell those homes. Developer wants to make a profit, move on to the next one. If the government said to a developer, in this area, we're going to give you a inducement, an incentive, a tax credit to build purpose-built rental to help with the rental issues or the rental
Right.
rates, I think that's going to start helping it from the source.
Yeah, it does seem like a more direct route to creating affordability is to create affordable homes
Yeah,
right off
yeah.
the bat, rather
Right.
than trying to massage the market with these sorts of things. Now, the local governments, when they were trying to push back against the province, I think they were smart enough to know that their criticism will get more of an ear if they offer an option. Like, do this instead.
Right.
And the main instead that we heard about was get rid of that and instead put in a flipping tax.
Right.
Do you buy into that idea too? That some tax on purchases that are then resold within a certain amount of time?
I mean, there are capital gains, which is considered a tax based on
Right.
not living in it. But yes, I mean, some people make a living on purchasing, renovating, or just buying and holding. So when you buy a condo pre-sales, well, you're taking the risk of buying it 3 years in advance, so the market could go up or down. But yes, if you do flip it, there should be some sort of, not penalty, but I
Right.
mean, if you're buying it on the sole basis of flipping and making money.
Wait a minute, did I just hear a realtor say there should be an additional tax on a real estate transaction?
Yes, and that's where I don't want to call it a tax. It should be some sort of
Disincentive?
well, or I don't know, even a penalty, because you know what I mean, we don't know. Like, I cannot tell you what's going to happen in 3 years. If I knew that, I'd either be selling everything or buying everything.
Right.
So a lot of people, and we've seen it, you've purchased, let's just say, a home on a high rise, and you're waiting 3 years, and in 3 years you bought it for 700 and it's worth 600.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to you and says, oh, let me give you an incentive because it went the wrong way.
Right. You do see on some of these projects where you see pre-sales going on. And I know that, like, sometimes, numbers of units are all purchased in one go. And
Right.
when I see that happening, it doesn't warm my heart. It kind of looks like, the builder placed them at an attractive early rate, and it would be nice if a family saw that, hey, we can do this. And instead, someone with deep pockets buys up a bunch of them, and, that opportunity is kind of lost. So, I don't know, should we be discouraging that?
Well, yeah, because I mean, developers, the banks require a certain amount of pre-sales, so they have to get these pre-sales to get financing. So they're kind of held with one arm behind their back as well. But yes, I mean, when I worked in Vancouver with one of the largest developers, we had a rule that one buyer, one home. Because then we knew that we're not going to get caught where if that buyer says, you can keep my deposit because the market's changed.
Right.
It's gone farther down.
Well, I see, because you're only getting a deposit out of those people.
That's
so it's
correct, yeah.
Sometimes, if they decide to pull out, that's a big problem. Instead of just one buyer, maybe that gets cold.
Right, because usually that one buyer is probably an end user. And if they're an investor, at least we're not taking the risk that they're trying to hedge the market.
Right.
So
we try to keep these to about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Any other points you want to get in before we...
Well, I think just like anywhere, if it's supply and demand, a beautiful place to live, it will cost more than other places. It's just common sense.
Yeah.
We do have a beautiful area, and we want everyone to notice Kelowna. We want everyone to notice BC. I think what we have to do is allow that to happen, but create, and trust me, I don't know where to start, but find a way where we can allow the young to move here and start a life. Because when I first started to look at moving here, it was more mature people living here because families couldn't get a job and a stable income to live here. But we're seeing that change because of the internet.
Yep.
But we still have to find a way to get them to come here, rent, create ownership. So I think the government has to work a little more closely with developers and look what the world's doing. I mean, you look at New Zealand, they've banned foreign buyers. But see, I think what they've done is they've created where they're not trying to hinder their, let's call it their locals, which I think in Canada we're all one, right?
Especially in the Okanagan. We're as close to Calgary just about as we are to Vancouver. At least I think, economically our ties there are so strong.
Well, and we've always encouraged Canada to see BC. And now that we've encouraged them to see it, we're trying to cut one of their legs off.
Yeah.
Sure, would I love to live on the lake? Yes, but the property tax is quite a bit higher too. So,
For sure.
yeah, so, I've been fortunate enough to move here, create a great business. My kids are growing up here. Will it be tough for them to buy? I don't know, because again, in 3 to 5
You'll
years,
help
we don't
them
know.
out.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Darcy, thanks a lot
Thank
for coming
you.
in.
Yes.
Darcy Nyros and
Thank you.
Nyros and Associates.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.